Today is building on top of the hamstring stuff. So I'm going to get Kaylee to stay seated. And just because of the camera work, I'm a little too lazy to go up and down, and that'll go between your knees. If you want to stand, which is the most beneficial way to connect to muscles, because we live standing, whatever you do on the mat, sitting in your chair, does it translate off the mat? So if you do yoga, it's the same concept. I'm going to give you a sentence that's pretty powerful. If you are not living in a wheelchair, you have no right to train abs without your hamstrings. This is powerful. Absolutely powerful. I will get you to stand up for a second and face that way, face the people. Your hamstrings attach from your sit bone down to the outside of your legs. And when you come back, yes, there we go. You'll need to push down in your feet, but it also fires your abdominal wall very differently. So if you want, actually, let's come up to standing. You could do it sitting. I just don't know if you'll feel it as much because this is going to be all of our sit up stuff. When you come back, do your hamstrings actually pull your thigh bones back and very gently your pubic bone goes forward. There you go. Then your job is to keep doing that for the entire class. I'll just cue you hamstrings in the socket, but this is the feeling you're trying to get. So for those of you that put your feet, when you put your hips way over your foot, you end up making this shape. Basically, that's the shape you're making with your foot, dorsiflexion. You have a hard time with plantar flexion. That's why we do plantar flexion in the class, is so that when you push into the floor, right? Think of what you're doing here in our roll down. When you push your foot into the floor, it brings you into your hamstrings. Some of us are just not strong enough to do that because you turn your bum off. Now, with that being said, your inner thighs. Turn your feet out a tiny bit. Turn your toes out. Your hamstring attaches down here onto that leg bone. So it slightly externally rotates. Yep, just slightly. And your inner thighs pull your legs together. How's that? Feel connected? Yeah. You want to keep that for everything. So today it's hamstring. First, if you do not have hamstring, you can't build on more abs. You cannot build on more inner thigh, and you cannot build on more glutes. This is how important this is. So if you keep pushing your hips forward and turning off your hamstrings and I don't know if she can ever turn off her hamstring, let's be quite frank, but you won't be able to build that. So she'll have some big honking hamstrings and no control over them. It's like having magic and not knowing what to do with it. You want hamstrings on, you want inner thighs. Now your glutes are actually the basin of your pelvic floor. Not the glutes. This is awesome, but your glute min and med depend on what the very bottom inside of your glutes. We're not going to see hers, obviously. Good. Ms. VT, you could probably go back more. Go back with your hips. Yep. Keep going back. Keep going back. Keep going back. Yep. I know. That's the part that's hard. Mr. DM, you could turn your feet in just a tiny bit more parallel. Okay. For all of you who are using your back to stay upright, you will lose all the ability to breathe into the back of your lungs and you will get a shoulder impingement at some point in your life. The whole point is if your hamstrings are on, you can now rotate. You can now breathe. Yeah, some of you can rotate without turning muscles on, but now you can do it with control and kindness to the spine. Okay, so hamstrings are going to be important to your breath and your rotation and coordination. All right, with that being said, lie on the floor. I'll take that ball. Put your head at one end of the mat. You can put your head down, then you can see the group. Ball between your inner thigh. So it's not an excruciatingly tough, this isn't going to be a tough class. It's going to be tough to stay connected because we will always slide into what you need. Just move your pelvis, tip it towards you and then tip it away from you. Just feel it moving. And just don't be too obsessed with it, not too hard with it. Nice, gentle movement. And then also tip your pelvis right to left. Don't abs it on me. Don't Pilates size it. Don't yoga size it. Don't boot camp it. Don't do anything. Just move it side to side. Your body doesn't care how you do something. If you need to get it done, it's going to do it. And so if you've got bad habits, it will do it with a bad habit. Remember, it doesn't care. All it cares is you have a task. So we're slowing it down enough to try and get a different kind of task. So drop your sit bones down into the mat and control those two, the ends of your sit bones. I just feel them. Could you squeeze them together and then push them apart? You might not be able to do this. Don't be frustrated. Squeeze your sit bones together, separate them. Now, I'd probably suggest trying to not squeeze the back of them together. You'll notice if you squeeze them too much, you'll round. That's not how you want to get your movement, but you do want them to feel like they know each other. So if you squeeze the ball gently, how does it engage your pelvic floor? So if your back is moving, it's too aggressive. You've lost it. Dial it down like 40%, at least 60% would be awesome. But breathe out completely. So make your exhale twice as long as your inhale. And see if you can breathe out of your mouth. It'll engage more pelvic floor. It's a hard habit, but really drop your tailbone nice and heavy there. That's it. Inhale, ease off. Trick is now try not to let go of both inner thighs when you ease off. It's you knock it down to just 5-10% and it's ready. So the thing is start your breath first, then do it. You'll get to a crazy tough spot. So things should be shooting up your body. There should be a sensation of going up. Don't fake it. Find it naturally. Then you'll get stronger on top of that. So it's not that you have to really pull up the pelvic floor. It should start to do it because of your alignment, because of these tasks that you're doing with the ball. So if you can't find it, tip your tailbone just slightly more one way or the other. Remember, it's the bones that help the muscles turn on. Okay, now your next thing is, I'm just going to move your arm across your chest. I'd like you to inhale and see if you can feel the bottom of your rib cage in the mat. And then exhale, breathe out and just feel how you deflate. Don't ever lift those bottom 3 ribs off the mat. Inhale. Good. And then exhale. So I'd make your inhale a little less because most of us can't turn our stomach on and keep it on in the inhale. So inhale as much as you can without turning off your abs. So when you breathe out, really breathe out and feel how tight your abs can become. Make them nice and hard. Okay, you're going to have to touch them or I'll poke you a million times. Now, when you inhale, is it still pretty firm? Or did you let go and get a beer belly? That's it. Okay, and then the base of the pelvis. So you need to take it down quite a few notches so you can get to the root. You're always going to come back to the hamstrings. Always, always, always. They're part of the inner thigh. They help your diaphragm. Good. Now slowly see if you can feel how your hamstrings actually tuck your pelvis. Like there's a little string on the bottom of your butt cheek and it tips your pelvis back a little. Just use your hamstrings to do it. Maybe your feet pull on the ground. Pull or push. Yeah. Pushing away should help roll it back and then feel it again. Trying to keep your sit bones wide the whole time. So you're rolling through. You could call it imprint. You could call it a baby pelvic tilt. I'm going to call it a slightly deeper awareness. Careful. Oh, yeah. Now start to see if your knees are wobbling. The exhale is just a tiny squeeze on the ball to see if you can get more feeling in your pelvic floor. That's all. So it's a muscle too, and we want to build on top of it, more weight on top of it. Okay, last one. This time on your next one, we'll do 8 of these. Push your right leg will stay there. Push your left leg into it without the other one moving. So I want you to feel the control. Here's the thing. One leg must stay still. The other one pushes in. You will be distracted by the moving one and you will cheapen up the other. So your inner thighs is the massive balancer of your entire frame. Your entire body stands with your hamstrings and your inner thighs protecting you as you walk to the next leg. So when we're doing this, you are actually breathing out. One leg stays still, so the other one has something to push in. Because when one hip capsule, get this, when one hip capsule inside your socket is tight, it will start to push other bones around, hence why we get adult onset scoliosis. It's the hip socket. So can you feel which one doesn't want to hold when you push in? Do you notice the difference?
For either side?
Yeah.
Yeah, the left one will hold better than the right one.
Exactly. We talked about that last week. The left one's really good at holding compared to the other one. So do a couple more on the weak side. But notice it, notice it, notice it, feel it. What's the point of you doing it? Control the ball instead of it controlling you. Perfect. Now we'll take the ball out. Hold that little tiny imprint. It's just this tiny pelvic tilt. And that will make your low belly feel a little bit more. Then breathe out first and try to get your abdominals. Okay, hold on. I'll get you. Feel the front of your pelvic floor tighten where your pubic bone is, just like right a little deeper than your pubic bone, a little lower. Then you also have the one where your tailbone is. If you want to say stop passing gas, I'm going to ask that you hold the stop passing gas. You'll be stronger at the front or the back. Now lift a leg up because if you can hold that muscle and it's already braced around your ribs, it's already on, it's already going to help you. So float one leg up to tabletop. Can you still keep your inner thighs on, your hamstring and the pelvic floor? And then when you're ready, breathe out and do the other one. Yes. So we'll do this. Bring your legs up and down. They don't have to touch, one at a time. When you're ready, you can do any breath pattern you want. But remember, you start to get more control on the exhale. You have an opportunity to change things a little deeper. Change which one you lead with. Remember, we'll all get our legs up at this level. You guys can all do it. But are you compensating? The people that keep compensating with their hip flexors just to get up, remember, all they care about is getting their legs up because now they're abs. You start to make your spine weaker just by lifting legs. Because now you're just always in hip flexors. You're always in hip flexors. Your adductors can't help. Your back becomes rigid because of the hip flexors always doing the job. Their hamstrings never let go of their duty. Maybe you can try the next 4, thinking of your front pelvic floor. But remember your pelvic floor, just thinking about that muscle pulling up, and then you add the weight of your leg, it's starting to actually push out your body again. So can you still keep pulling up? Because this is a medium pressure exercise with your legs up. But the longer they are and the further away they are from you, the more high pressure it is. Now hold your legs in tabletop next time you're there. If the ball is handy, put it behind your knees, just behind them, and let your legs just fold over. You could cross one leg on top. All right. So your back is allowed to move a little, but I want you to plug your legs into the socket, breathe out, feel your pelvic floor first, and then slowly move the legs away from you with your hamstrings and seeing if you can control your back from taking the stress. Inhale, bring the legs back up. Good. Exhale, find your breath first because you want to protect, you want the brace for your spine, and then move. You snuck an inhale in there. Remember, why are you doing it at this point? Why are we doing the Pilates? We want to really protect the spine and make the hip sockets stronger. Okay, open the chest just a little bit more. It's this quality of really riveting at the bottom of the leg to move inside the hip socket, keeping the pelvis. It can move a little. There's just not allowed to strain. So maybe you could practice letting the legs come away from you and how it can pull you off the mat a little, and then how it comes back. But you're controlling it. It's not just flopping up or pulling away. How you feeling? Okay. If you need to, put your legs down, otherwise keep them up. Here, the endurance though, cross the other leg on top, is your pelvic floor, inner thighs, hamstrings. Keep them on, arms up to the ceiling. Ribs still have to come down and feel the bigness, like breathe outwards into your ribs because your shoulder blades have to attach to the side of your rib cage, not up in the neck, and they're not going to pinch in the front. Triceps on. Now plug your arm, pull your armpit down. As you exhale, push your arms away from your knees. Breathe out. But really work on pulling the armpit down and keeping the ribs flush. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, get your breath first. Get this feeling of your arm in the socket. Because where's your hamstring here? Yeah. Nice. Straight arms without hyperextending. Could keep pulling your armpit down. Pull it, pull down, down, down. There, without popping ribs. Yes. It's this fight between the two things. Now remember, you need to feel why you're doing this. Are your ribs on the ground or are you starting to tighten your back? Because your posture matters. How you stand isn't how you exercise, but you get stuck in something. It's not a muscle, but your entire system's going to hold you in a pattern. And if you like, you can add your knees going away from you a little, away from your legs, but how do you load the whole system, your legs and your biceps, your triceps? And exhale, knees and hands go away from each other. Breathe out, anchor your body. Good. The further, now this is the kicker. The further you lower your arms and the further you lower your legs, the more awareness you need. You need to protect it, activate it, get it on. Your brain knows you're going to move it. Can your muscles protect you? Or are you reacting as time goes on? Just a couple more, and then we'll take a little break from that and do flexion. That's fantastic. Good. Hug your knees to your chest and remove your bowl. Come onto your hands and knees. Are you good on your hands and knees, or you just want to do your plank? Kaylee's going to do her plank because she is working on arms and hands and the rib cage. You're still going to plug your hamstrings into your socket. Find your nice neutral. Push into all your fingers as you exhale. Gently use your hamstrings to tuck your pelvis and let your rib cage move. Don't just hunch. Remember, can you still get the armpits down? Inhale to breathe and then exhale, come back. Flare your sit bones, but pull your ribs in strongly. There is this opposition, and you want to catch that. See if you can find it every single time. And again, exhale, find your breath, then start to use your hamstrings to tuck and push up because our sit up's going to be a little like this. Inhale and then exhale, move back. The thing is, do you have muscle tone on? Are your muscles on, or are you just moving through space? There's effort. There's a ton of effort. Good. So remember, if you can't be on your hands and knees, you can stay standing with your hands on your thighs. Armpits down, armpits down, armpits down. Good. Armpits maybe down a little more. And pull your ribs up hard and strong. So push into the floor. Good. Oh, wow. I think the student is starting to outdo the teacher, as they say. So look at how she's pushing into the ground. She's actually lifting her chest off the mat. This is what your cat-cow is. You're actually pushing into the floor to stretch the bottom of your ribs wide. So you're actually trying to tear the mat apart too. That's perfect. One more. Perfect. Roll all the way back down onto your stomach. You can just stay there, my friend, if your hips don't hurt. So true, if you lose extension in your hips, you lose everything else, by the way. Meaning, if you can't open your hip just a little back here, you will start to lose how you turn in, you will start to lose how you turn out, and you will lose power. You lose all power and control. So that's again, your body is reacting because you can't get that. So when you start to lift your leg, you had to go into flexion to turn it. You had to turn it into flexion to get here. So we know how to control the hip bones up. I wouldn't say freeze your pelvis, but can you not move your sit bones up closer to the ceiling? So your sit bones are pulling to your heels. Pull up on the front of your pelvic floor to hold it. Now try to lift one of your legs up with your hamstrings without losing what your sit bone pull is, and alternate that 8 times. Yep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Get your sit bones to pull towards the end. Yes. Your struggle. Good. Now it's not about lifting the leg high. It's seriously, do you have extension? Good. So if you, good, is parallel, your head is down so that you can now open your ribs up a bit by pushing your arms into the ground, shoulders out of the ears. So it's the same exercise. Now you're just cueing, you're just going a little deeper into how you feel the ground. Okay, Miss AB, you're bending the knee again, bending the knee. So now you're getting too much hamstring around the bottom of the knee. You're not getting it up at the top. All right. So you're going to lift one leg up and plug it into the socket. Okay. Now it's really plugged in. Slowly start to turn your knee outward a bit and inward back to parallel. Can you move your leg in the socket without losing control of the pelvis? Try your other leg. This should be really hard. Really hard. If not, you're just finding a way to lift the leg. It's the controlling the pelvis that's the hard part. Drop down. Now your legs will go a little wider than your hips, and you keep your hamstrings on, your inner thighs are on, and now slowly rotate your knees outwards just a tad. I think we can do a little bit. So this is a tough spot for a few of you. Okay, you flexible gals, pelvic floor, pelvic floor, pelvic floor, pelvic floor, pelvic floor. Your ribs, pull them in. Good, because we need to feel, remember, we need to feel how we can open up the ribs as we're breathing. Your rib cage, your sternum, it has a connection to the tailbone. It's always coming down towards the tailbone. Now try to lift both legs or one leg and see if you can still hold your pelvic floor on. Can you still hold the transversus, the belly? Good, lift and lower. It's not height, but you can hold it for a brief moment. So Kaylee's decided she knows her level. She knows if she does two legs, she's going to go back into hyperextending her back. Remember, you want your body to learn how to do it in the hip. You want your brain, he doesn't care if you can do 10 or 20. That's your ego. He just cares that you can do it so he can keep the life in the hip socket. Good. Remember, you can hold it out, hold it out, hold it up, stretch, stretch, stretch your legs longer, stretch them longer, stretch them longer. Now slowly turn them a bit more in the socket, knees out and lower back down. Good. Now plant them, hands at your forehead. You're going to do this one here. Okay, yes. So remember, we've got hips open, the an extension, rib is up, shoulders down, armpits come back down. When you're ready, exhale. How does your stomach help lift you up? And so we can feel this nice collection, like you're watching a little ant walk. Can you watch a little ant walk towards this desk and see how it helps you lift up? There. And then when you come back down, try and do a little sit up. Go slow, use your breath. Remember, your hamstrings are what's holding you down. Your pelvis is nice and heavy. I want you to start to push your hip bones into that mat. Really drive them in. Good. Careful you don't turn your stomach off just because you lift up. Now, this is important. Really, really push your hips into the floor. Push your legs into the floor. Good. Okay. Come up a little higher if that doesn't hurt. How's that feel? Good. And when you're ready, one more, then hold a plank. Nice work. So come up into a plank. Do your same plank. Press your toes out. Now, if you can't do a full plank, so again, Kaylee's doing a modified hands a little bit more forward. She's putting, you could put your chest over an ottoman because she's still working on her hamstring. She's got some good hamstrings, but her hands don't match this massively strong back she's got. So she's got to work on her hamstring until she can get there. Maybe that's you too. The other version is here. You can do all the same stuff, but control with your inner thighs. If you'd like, you can go to that full plank. Push your face up. Tighten through the pelvic floor. If your hamstrings are not on, what's protecting your back? Now, when you're ready, I'd like you to see if you can push your heels. So push into the floor to push you back a bit more, even if you're still hands on your ottoman. If you like, lift your right leg up, tap the ground, and again, 5 times per leg. If you don't, yes. But remember, control the pubic bone first. I see some of you are really going fast. There's not the deeper set yourself up and then move. Set yourself up and then move. Yes. And can you feel? Yeah, spend more time in hip extension. Spend a lot more time in hip extension. After one set, sit back and take a break. Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Yes. Okay, I'll show you the difference in the pace now. For those that go up, down, you're doing good. You need to be stronger for longer, and then you want to stick it. You really want to stick that landing for a second. So when you lift up, boom, like feel you are in amazing hip extension instead of just going up, down. This is where you get all your benefit from, and up and like really get it, and then down. That's what I mean by doing 5, because there's a few of you doing 1, 2, 3. You're actually spending way more time in hip flexion and not enough in the extension because it was going up and down so fast. It spent a brief moment in time. Brief moment in time. Ready for your second set? And if you're a huge addict, go on to your third set. Think about doing shoulder extension with your, so for those of you that have to lay on the floor or do a modification like Kaylee, you're going to add one arm coming up, opening your shoulder as you lift the opposite leg. Okay, that's yours, and then down. Oh, there we go. Now, if your glutes are not on, if your hamstrings are on, again, don't fight this. AB, that's good. Are you really in there? Are you really in those hamstrings? Inner thigh and pelvic floor, everyone. Oh, nice. Mr. DM, just pull your head up slowly, slowly, just a bit. Yes. KS, slow it down for your next one. Take a break when you need it, and then do one more set. So for those that want to add on to the concept of hip flexion or a hip extension, bend your foot towards that opposite shoulder, but you're still trying to keep it like extension, not just bend it, but I'm trying to get my foot towards my opposite shoulder without letting go of the abdominal wall. So bend and extend 5 times. Reminding yourself that your hip stays in extension the entire time. So the other option, if you're on your elbows, it's the same thing, but are you in hip extension? Is your hip open or is it down and always in the bent position? Good, then you'll flip over to your back with straight legs. Hip extension is so, so important. So side planks, side planks are the same thing when we do it. We won't do it just now. Stretch your legs out along the floor. I got to bring a floor to Kaylee. Plug legs in the socket. Hands can go behind your head. This is just supporting your head. Never pull on it. If you're pulling on your hip flexors, you got to figure out how to turn them off. Close your elbows up. Think about all we said here. That heaviness. When you're ready, exhale. Get your body knowing that it's ready for you and curl up. But your job is to open again. Yeah, you have to focus on your hip extension. How many of you are starting to flex your hip? You're pulling your thigh towards you. Okay. Can you actually really curl up over your rib, like over, without pulling on your head? Nice work with that hip extension. Point your toes. Yep. If you like, squeeze the inside of the back of your thighs together. Adductors. You don't have to squeeze them. Some of you have knees that don't touch for some reason. Then put the ball between your ankles, but squeeze from the back of your inner thighs. Your hamstrings, roll your legs a little. This is why we must have the knees facing out a tiny bit. Yeah, turn them out, turn them out. And so your hamstrings will turn your thighs out a bit. Your inner thighs, keep them together a little, and your glutes help hold. They stick that there. So find that control and then curl up. Now hold up if you can. Good, hold up. Little tiny pulses over your bottom rib without changing the quality of your hip flexion. Yep. Oh, look at you guys nailing the pelvis to the ground. Okay, now careful you don't let go of the tension. Like curl up and feel it working. Go down just a little and then get up higher. Good. And down just a little. Nice. Up a little higher. Hold. Push your legs along. Down just a little. Two more. Up just a little higher. Nice. Good. And roll back down. Stretch out. One leg goes on the ball or on your cushion or just stays on the floor. Push out. You'll have to be careful about hyperextending knees. By the way, a knee should never hyperextend in your life. Hands behind your head again. So now you have flexion here. We just had a big nag session about keeping this open, but can you feel there's still a length with the hamstring plugging into the socket? Curl up gently again and down. Point through your toe and think about what you're doing with your two legs. Your brain is absorbing. Why is one foot different? If you're hanging one leg up off without a ball, you still have to plug your hips into the socket. Yes. 4 or 5 on one leg, 4 or 5 on the other. Push down in the ball if you have it to engage the glute a bit more. And then keep your abs straight, like feel the support of your ribs. That's good. Change sides. How do you slightly turn the legs out? Because we need to try to turn that hip flexor off a bit more. He's not a bad guy, but most of us are using so much TFL right there at the top of the thigh. We are not able to get, he's got no other choice. If he's going to fire, it means nothing else is doing their job. Your TFL being angry all day long at you means he's never getting into hip extension to turn off. Yes. Good connection. Good. All the way back down. Bring your legs back to tabletop. You can keep your head down if you're a little tired. Push yourself back up into your sit-up. Curl up. Bring one leg up to tabletop. Your back's allowed to be flat. It can be any shape you want, but can you feel the pelvic floor pulling up? Can you feel the sit bones wide? The leg that comes up is going into flexion. Feel the hamstrings, and then it will load your abs differently as you stretch out. Inner thighs are always on. 5 per side. There. Stay up in it. Remember, you can see how Kaylee had to work harder in her sit-up, but as soon as we add the leg, it's taking away from her abs. Sorry, girl. Good. Bring your leg back in. Readjust your height at that ribs, folks. Get up high. And there, you got to try to hold it as you stretch the leg out. Pull, yep. Control the ribs are heavy in the floor. And breathe out. Yeah, use the, that's it. Open the hip. Good. Now watch that you're not being pulled off the floor, that your bottom 3 ribs don't lift. Oh, nice. Good. When you've done that, bring it all the way down. Ready? You get to do 2 legs and I'll help you. In tabletop, head down first. All right. And when you're ready, exhale, curl up. Okay. You've got to commit to your abs. I'm going to help you. Stay up in that ab. Stretch your legs up to the ceiling as you drop your sit bones. Good. Stay up for me. Stay up for me. Oh, we still have tight hamstrings. It's okay. Turn your knees out, all those muscles, and slowly lower down. Even if you can't straighten your legs when they were up, you can do it out here to gain that. Feel it. Good. Stretching out. Yes. Inhale. Right there. You can see your belly drop. Lift with that belly. There you go. Don't turn in. Don't turn in. Don't turn in. And exhale, lower. Why did we learn that turn out? Curl higher as you lift your legs up. Yes. And then stay in it. Curl higher. Stay in it as you lower. Stay in it. Stay in it. Stay in it. Breathe, 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 breathe. 2 more if you can. Stay with me. Stay up. Stay up. Don't let the legs come up, push you down. Don't let the legs come up, push you down. Good. One more up, one more down. We'll stay here, Kelly. Squeeze the back of your thighs together. Stretch. Curl higher. Okay, now stay there. Little tiny flutter kicks. Low belly is going to go crazy, but move from the hip, from the hip, from the hamstrings. I could do this all day. And bring your legs into tabletop and take a break. Okay, turn onto your side. You can do this on your elbow, on a side plank, anything you want. We're going to stay down for this version, just because I know a lot of you have shoulders that you're watching. Back is big. Push into your bottom hip bone. This is key. This is key. If you're going to work this leg, it should affect this rib cage, these abdominals. So you're going to keep this up. Yep, just enough. Keep pushing this leg down and straighten your top leg. Find hip extension. Open your hip first. It's got to be in a straight line. Open your hip, open your hip, open your hip, which means you're in a straight line here on your top leg. Maybe your bottom one's bent. Careful you're not at this line for this, because what's your weak link? So your glute max and your pelvic floor are working. Good. Now I'd like you to turn your toes down and your heel up. Plug both legs in the socket. Now lift your leg up gently and down, but you've got to be able to push into your bottom hip bone. That's the key point. Good. Pull your ribs in. So try to see if you can do 10 of these with your legs straight, with your hip open, with your rib lifted, with a smile on your face. Good. Good, Miss PF. Can you internally rotate a little bit more? Get your heel a little higher. Yeah, it should really like get, and now make sure he's in extension, because remember, most of us will start to bring the leg more and more forward as you go on, because he can't stay in extension. That's the tough part. Good. Switch sides when you've got enough of that one. Or wait, if you want, you can stay up, point through your toe. TS, your leg's coming in front of you. It's not behind you anymore. You're not in extension. Yep. Point your toe now and circle. Good, switch. So if you need to switch, you can, like, some people's legs just needed that break. Do 10 lifts, then 10 circles, 10 circles. Or you could do the lift and circle. So yeah, DN, you should have enough. Good. Go slow enough that you feel your leg in the socket. This is important. Careful, KS. Careful, careful. Remember, yours is about in the socket. Now, not how high can the foot lift. So as you lift your foot, your leg bone sinks a little deeper in the socket. This is what you're trying to feel, is in the hip socket. Yes. And you can tell your abs are not working when your leg is way up here, because the whole point is to push into that hip bone. That's your number one job. Number two is to lift the waist. Nope. And you have to control it so that you're not lifting your leg with your back. That's the point. If you don't lift with your back, you'll get grumpy habits and a flat bum in 10 years if you don't already have one. What's the point then? Externally rotate your foot. Internally rotate your legs so your toes are facing down. Oh, yep, and hold. Stay in the extension there. Hip bone pushes down. Good, good, good. Some of you will actually feel your TFL stretching. Push your heel more, turn in more, RS, turn in more. Now your leg's a little floating in front of you. Can you take it back? Yep, open the hip more if you can, and then internally rotate more. And there should be a height on right there. Good. Tough, hey? Okay, roll on. She said she's on fire. She doesn't want to do the circles. Remember, it's your bone that pushes down into the mat is more important than the one lifting. Oh, good. Then after it'll be bridge. Lie on your back. Good. If you're still doing your circles, do it. You've got it, Miss AB. Remember, it's the hip bone pushing down without your waist dropping. So hip bone pushes and waist lifts. Okay, now for bridges, if you need to do a straight-legged bridge for any reason, you can go for it. Some of you won't be able to lift into a full bridge. While I watch you on the mat, I can give you some cues. Okay, so you have to be able to turn off the hip flexors by going into that little tiny pelvic tilt, then drive your feet into the ground and lift your hips up. Did your knees roll out? You want to keep a ball squeezing. Good, try not to turn sideways. And now just go up and down, keeping your ribs really heavy and your hips as high as you can go. Is that all you got for me? Okay. So everyone's chose that version. Stretch your arms, drive them down into the floor because you want to feel your feet are active. Your hamstrings, of course, are active. Your glutes, of course. Your ribs are pushed down because remember, otherwise your low back tightening. Some of you stand like this. Your hamstrings are off and your back is so hard, it can't go anywhere else. Okay, stay up, stay up, stay up, stay up. Keep using your feet. So master the ball, control the ball. Good. Miss Ritchie, just drop your hips a tiny bit so it's on your back. There we go. Now squeeze the ball slowly. Squeeze like really strongly as you exhale. Breathe out, staying up in your bridge. Good. Inhale, ease off the ball a tiny bit, but not the bum. And exhale, squeeze. Stay up for me. Stay up. Stay up. Keep your hips up. All right. Somebody's groaning. So as you inhale, you've got to stay up strong. And then as you exhale, squeeze the ball. It's probably your weak link. Breathe out, squeeze, exhale. Now hold, keep exhaling. There. Takes you that long for the femurs to feel it. So try not to let the knees just really open wide. It's just to ease off the ball. And then when you squeeze, there's a lot of power in that ball. Good. Stay up on this last one. Drive your hips a little higher and more pelvic tilt. More pelvic tilt. Good. Now roll down slowly and just really feel how your abdominals push you down. Push your ribs down. Push your ribs down. There. Nice fix. If you can go up into one-legged bridges, we're going to do that. If you can't do that, all you'd like to do is stretch one leg up to the ceiling, okay? Otherwise, drive yourselves up into a bridge. I'm going to get you to do bridge first. It'll be funny on this one. Up into your bridge. Okay, anchor your ribs, anchor your hips. Lift your right leg to the ceiling. But can you feel how you started to roll? Then put your foot back down. How do you use your inner thighs and your bum and your hamstring? Plug it in as you bring the leg up. Yeah. So you're going to march another 6, but pay attention to the leg that needs you more. Adductors on the adductors on your supporting leg. If they turn off on your other leg, that's fine, but you got to turn them back on as you bring them down so that you're not just dropping the leg. Okay, there, that's it. How do you, again, use your inner thighs, use your inner thighs. Keep your bum up. Good. For those of you that can, lift one leg way up to the ceiling. Stay down here. That's fine. Lift one leg up to the ceiling. Good. And slowly move it out to the side. Where's that pressure going? Can you still keep your inner thigh on? And then bring it back in. 5 of these. Keep your inner thighs on. So push into my hand here. As you open and close, keep pushing. There we go. Take a break if you need one. Oh, yeah, not so far. It turned off. 2 inner thighs, they know each other too far. And take a little breather. Okay, I think we could do this with your bum on the ground. Can you stretch your right leg out and your left leg up to the ceiling? If you need to bend it, like if it's too intense, you can bend it, but we try to make it as straight as we can. Okay. What I see is a lot of inner thigh letting go, and now it's going to go through your low back. You want to keep training the leg in the socket like a pestle mortar, right? You okay, cousin Kaylee? Inner thighs are trying to actually push towards each other, but there's no ball. There's no way they're connected to each other. How can you open this leg without letting go of this intensity on the other inner thigh and then bring it back? There, feel that. Keep it in both legs. Go nice, slow enough that you can feel when you lost it. Nope. So once you lose your inner thigh, you're going to be way somewhere else. Slow it down. Remember your body there. Keep the intensity. You could do this in a bridge if you're bored of being on the floor. Use your breath. Breathe out and move. Inhale. You're trying to slow your breath down as much as you can. Exhale. Breathe out first. Stretch your right leg. Good. Switch sides when you're ready. This will be important for deadlift kind of stuff. Any one-legged stuff. Deadlifts, golf ball pickups. Stretch the leg up. Keep both legs parallel for this one. Both legs parallel. Open and close. One leg is on the ground, one leg is in the air. Okay, remember you want hip extension with the other leg if you can handle it. What are both legs doing in the socket? Keep the glutes and the inner thighs and the pelvic floor working with that hamstring. Perfect. All right, back to your first side. Can you bring your leg up? Kaylee's got a pretty tight hamstring, so let's go back to tabletop. One leg is going to straighten to the ceiling, but as you do this, you are plugging leg down and holding belly up. Look at the difference. Her hamstring's getting a little bit more length, just a little bit more. This guy's going to stay in tabletop. Do this 3 times with one leg. Bend the knee. So you want to feel like you had to actually work to pull the knee into bent position. On the exhale, you drop your tailbone heavy. Yes, drop it heavy. And how do you keep it heavy as you slowly stretch your leg out of that? There you go. It doesn't have to be straight. You just have to feel when you're not doing it. 3 on one leg, 3 on the other. And check, those of you that have your knee coming towards you, you're starting to lose the anchor of your tailbone. That's the thing. Good. Hold one leg up when you're done that set. Hold it up. Okay, he's going to make it harder for you to actually do a sit-up. Your hamstring pulling, remember your hamstring's going to pull on your upper spine. So hold one leg straight, hands behind your head. Tailbone down. All right. So pointing through your toe nicely. As you exhale, curl up like crazy over that bottom rib, but your hamstring's trying to take you down from that. Go all the way down or halfway down. And again, regroup and get up, dropping your tailbone and trying to stretch your leg even further. Drop that tailbone. Good. So you got 2 legs to control. You got to keep your inner thighs on. You got to keep the pelvis from going all over the place. And then how do you anchor it that you can actually curl up? There you go. 5 on one side and 5 on the other. Okay, hold on. Drop, drop, drop. There you go. Curl up slow as you keep that. There. I know it's hard. One more. Drop, 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 drop. Yes. Okay, now roll your head down. And now just stretch this leg a little longer if you can. There. Feel the difference? Curl higher over that rib. Drop the hips. Yes. No, we'll keep you uneven. No, if you like, we'll try and do both. Stretch both legs up to the ceiling and curl up. All right. Curl up as high as you can. Now try to lift your hips. Like, how do you crunch a little higher and lift your hips off the ground a little and down? Lift your hips up and down. Feel the difference between trying, no swinging of the legs. Well, no swinging and no fast movement. Fast movement is your back muscles doing it. Your legs coming to you is too much hip flexor. How do you get into the deep core? To lift and lower and really make your legs reach up, not to you, but up, 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 go up. There you go. Okay, now hold your hips up. Hold your hips up and try to lower your legs towards the floor. You can do them bent or straight, but you're trying to lift your tailbone off the ground. How's that? and then regroup and do it again. Try that 5 times. There you go. So how come you like to lift your tailbone in the other exercise, but now you don't want to do it? Lift it up. So try to lift your tailbone up as you lower your legs down, and then anchor your tailbone if you're trying to crunch up. That's how you can play with it. Roll all the way back down. One more set of planks. Are you ready to try cat cow? Flip the other way. Yeah. One more set of planks if you'd like, but we're going to try and change this. Turning on your side, push down into your foot, use your waist, and really move the arm in the socket. Then come back down, find your toes, and then over. The reason being is your big toes have a huge connection to your well-being for the rest of your life at your rib cage. So I see a lot of people that roll through their foot and they don't ever connect the toe to the ground, which means they can't control their ribs more. Ready? Do a side plank on the bench. See how that feels to just rest your arm there. For some of you that can't lift, you can't twist with that. What if you just stayed on your elbow and pushed your legs? You don't have your big toe as much, but you're pushing your shins into the ground to lift up. Yep, you can place your hand anywhere that makes you feel like you can connect to this idea of that. Yes. Okay, for those of you that pick the classic Stott style, open your hips when you come up. That's the key. Hamstrings and inner thighs. Hamstrings and inner thighs. I see some bums turning off now. Yes, as soon as the movement happened, the control started to go down. Good. Keep your ribs nice and tight for those doing the planks on your elbows. Good. Wait, Miss Shelley. Wait. Stay there. Drop your bottom heel to the ground. Your left heel. Yes. And take a break. Next set, you're going to do a push-up with a clap in between. No, I know you don't want to. No. Okay, side plank for me. Up on your waist, arm up. As you exhale, slowly lower down. Drive your elbows into the floor. I'd like you to just see if you can push your ribs a little higher to the ceiling, but use your legs on the floor. You'll actually feel more waist, more pelvic floor, more inner thighs. And then without that turning off, try to come back to your side plank. You can do a full side plank or a modified one. Do you want to try this on an elbow now?
Yeah.
Sure. Watch your head just doesn't droop. Like stay for a second that you can really drive your arms into the floor. Okay, Miss AB, stop. Pull your tailbone through more. Pull it through your inner thighs. No, pull it through your inner thighs. Pull it through. Yes. Good. How do you feel in this one? So remember, you got to set your shoulders down, folks, every single time you come there. And then as you push your elbows into the ground, use your arms, touch the floor so that you can push your ribs up more. You can tuck your tailbone more. Use your hamstrings. Use your inner thighs. Feel it. And then when you come out of it, sorry about the watch. How does that rate you? You have a certain number. What's going to tire first? Probably your arm. But what we're not going to do well enough is no one's going to tuck their tailbone more and more. No one's going to pull their ribs up enough. So you got to stop long enough to go deeper and deeper. Open that space through there. There. That's what you want. Switch sides when you want. Good. You are getting stronger. Remember, those of you with shoulder injuries, you're not flailing through this because you have a shoulder injury because of the rib cage not being controlled on the spine, right? So arms up, you're pushing into the floor. And then as you exhale, think about that pelvic floor tucking. Hamstrings help. Use your legs first. Always use the legs first. Tuck more, push into the floor, and then unwind. Good. Round, tuck your tailbone. Now push the arms into the floor so that you can get your ribs up to the ceiling more. Okay, everybody pause with your 2 forearms on the ground for a second. Just push your ribs up. Tuck your tailbone. Now use your legs. Push them into the floor. Tuck your tailbone more through your inner thighs, through your inner thighs, through your inner thighs. Perfect. And then come all the way back down. That should have made you even. Roll onto your back. What's happening for most people with side planks is they roll and drop into gravity. There is no anti-gravitational force of pushing the ribs back. It activates your triceps, it activates your legs more, and your legs pushing in give you more power for that. So the more you're on your hand, the more you need to be able to control that type of, instead of just falling, and it's usually a torque on the shoulder. So keep that in mind. So lie on your back one more time. Arms out to the sides and legs in tabletop. Good. Use your arms. Squeeze your legs together so you still have your tailbone and your pubic bone are still connected to each other with your pelvic floor. Keep your legs together. If you can't, then put the ball between them. As you exhale, you slowly take the knees to one side, but you're focusing on your tailbone going down through there. How do you squeeze your legs together for more and not go further? Inhale through center. Your back doesn't have to be tight. Exhale, get the pelvic floor first. And remember, the further you go, the more your spine needs you. Can you turn on more inner thigh, more hamstring, and not let your tailbone swish side to side? Breathe. Use your breath for more power. Can you go a little further? You can take the knees further away from you. Explore different options. Okay, hold your legs out to the side. Are they still squeezing? Think of all that stuff we did lying on the mat when I asked you to drop your tailbone down. It's your top leg is slowly going to extend, but you got to plug the leg in the socket. Do that 5 times with your top leg. Breathe out. Before you start, can you go a little bit more in your twist? Make your tailbone reach, reach, reach. There you go. Stretch that leg without curling your tailbone off the ground. Nice. Nice and smooth. So feel that, I remember that. There. So what we're trying to do with Kaylee too, with all of you, is if your hamstrings are engaged, they will stretch to the right amount. You're not overstretching them at anything else. Good. 5 on the other way. Keep your inner thighs together. Keep them together. Keep your ribs nice and heavy. Get that security first. Ribs heavy. Again, pull your leg in the socket. Pull it in. Good. Come back to center and hug your knees to your chest. Okay, one more bridge. Arms down at the floor. Drive your hips up. Okay, now keep your inner thighs on. Keep your feet playing. You've got some arches on. Lift your arms up to the ceiling and reach as far away from your knees. Did you actually cry today? Reach, 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 reach. Slow, like engage those arms, really reach them. That will stretch your lats out, which are getting too tight for you, and roll down slowly. One vertebra, get those ribs to really hit the ground, then your low back, and just stretch it out. Good. Hug your knees to your chest and rock side to side. Come up to standing and do me a favor and see how you can stand on one leg with those guys. So standing up. Hamstring. Okay, I'll give you a little cue if you want. Might not be easy to see. This is a pelvis. This is the sacrum. And then it's starting to go all the way over to one side, starting to come over. Here's why are we going to do the twist? Why do you want to do the one-legged plank always the same? So that's why you want to control the pelvic floor, because if you can't, it starts to get pulled all over and it usually just finds a happy spot in one side. Trying to feel both sides of your pelvic floor, control that. Good. So adductors, hamstrings, bottom of your glutes. You ready? Soften your knees a little. Could you stand on one leg and still keep your adductors on because they're your anti-gravitational muscles? Yep, good. Use your toes. Getting much better at this. I'm not too concerned with the hips and stuff. I want you to feel those adductors. And then down, try one more each side. So there's a massive amount of knee lockers in this class. Massive, which means your quads are turned off and your back is too tight for this to actually be more hamstrings and more adductors. So watch, unlock the knee. A knee locking will kill your knees and hips. There you go. Now stay there with one leg up. Close your eyes and see how that goes. So how does your foot talk to your hip? And then switch sides. So notice the difference as soon as you close your eyes. If that was 10 times harder, I'm not joking. Your eyes are doing too much for your balance, not enough adductor and not enough foot. It is harder, let's be honest. Perfect work today. Roll down, enjoy the stretch. Let your head just drop. Let your back go. And then when you're ready, start to push your legs into the ground. Feel your hamstrings pulling you up and back. Yes. And then extend your hips when you're ready. Reach up to the ceiling. And a little lean to one side and a little lean to the other. Think about your sit bones and your pelvic floor if you want. Let it go if you want. And release. Thanks, guys.